Okay, so today we're going to look into something a lot of students might find relevant,
Mm.
especially if they've had to deal with, academic assignments in English.
Mhm.
It's English Assignment Help Services.
Okay.
We found this website. It's offering these services online, specifically in the UK.
Interesting.
Yeah, and we thought it'd be interesting to kind of dig into this a little bit, see what
Yeah.
they're offering,
Right.
why is there such a demand for this kind of help, and what does that tell us about the challenges students are facing, when it comes to doing work in English?
Yeah, that's a really interesting question. I think whenever you see a service like this pop up, it makes you wonder like what's the need? What are students struggling with and how are they, trying to find solutions?
Exactly. And, this website gives us a chance to peek behind the curtain a bit and see it from the perspective of one of these services.
Yeah, for sure.
So the first thing that kind of jumps out is just the fact that these services exist at all, right? Like
Mm.
what's driving this whole demand for English assignment help? And the website we're looking at actually lays it out pretty clearly. They start by talking about the global reach of English.
Okay.
They emphasize that it's not just any language, it's like the international language,
Right.
the primary language in a lot of major academic hubs like the US, the UK, Australia, New Zealand. And it has a huge presence in countless other countries like
Mm.
India, Ghana. It's pretty much everywhere you look.
Yeah. And that global reach, I mean, it's not just some random statistic. It has real world consequences, especially when you think about how important it is to have strong English skills these days in so many fields.
Right.
It's not just about passing an English class anymore. It's really a gateway to all sorts of opportunities, whether it's international business, academic research. So many professions rely on it.
Absolutely.
It's really like the website says a key tool for navigating, this globalized world we live in. And that
Yeah.
applies to both your academic life and your professional life down the road.
And that's where the pressure comes in, right? Because this website states that a lot of students struggle to get good grades in English. They mention things like a lack of skills and poor grammatical knowledge.
Hmm.
And it's not just about, understanding Shakespeare. It's really about the basics of writing clearly and correctly in an academic setting.
Exactly. And the thing is, the stakes are so high for these students.
Yeah.
This source points out that English assignments can make or break your academic progress, like getting into a university or moving on to higher levels of study.
Right.
And then beyond that, so many employers across tons of different industries, they expect a high level of written and spoken English. So if you're a student who doesn't feel confident in that area, it can be a really big source of anxiety about your future.
Absolutely. And
Yeah.
it's not just the future, it's also the present, right?
Yeah.
Like, think about all the stuff students are juggling these days.
Oh, yeah.
They've got coursework in so many different subjects,
Mhm.
deadlines piling up left and right. And then on top of that, they're often working part-time jobs or doing all sorts of extracurricular
Oh,
activities.
totally.
It's a lot to manage.
Oh.
And the website even mentions this specifically, like time is a huge factor.
Yeah, it makes sense.
It's just hard to consistently produce high-quality English assignments
Yeah.
when you've got so much on your plate.
Yeah, absolutely. And we can't forget about students who are learning English as a second language. I mean, that's a whole other set of challenges right there.
Right.
This website actually mentions that they're seeing more and more demand from this group of students, and it's understandable because they're not only grappling with the subject matter of the assignment itself, but they're also trying to master the nuances of the English language at the same time.
Yeah, it adds a whole extra layer of complexity to everything.
For sure.
So we've got this clear picture now of why there's this growing need for English assignment help.
Mm-hmm.
And we've talked about the different pressures students are facing. So let's get into the specifics. What kind of help are these services actually providing?
Well, this particular website, they advertise a pretty wide range of support. They cover those typical academic tasks like help with book reports, research papers, but then they also get into some more niche areas like translations, which I think really highlights the global nature of academic work these days,
Right.
poster writing. And then something I thought was really interesting was they specifically mention help with grammar and writing academic essays.
Okay.
So it seems like they're trying to cover a lot of the common English-related assignments that students would encounter.
And they also really play up the expertise of their writers. They mentioned that they have PhD writers and subject-oriented experts,
Yeah.
which, that's clearly meant to reassure potential customers that their work is going to be in good hands.
Right.
And another thing that stood out to me was their claim of AI-free content,
Oh, yeah, that's a big one.
especially these days with all the talk about AI writing tools.
Right.
You know, it seems like they're making a conscious effort to emphasize that they use human writers and that they're committed to producing original work.
Yeah, it definitely signals that they're aware of the concerns around academic integrity and the potential for AI to create generic or even inaccurate content.
Exactly. And they even highlight their customer rating, which is 4.8 out of 5 stars based on over 5,000 reviews. Now, of course, we should always take self-reported data with a grain of salt.
Right, of course.
But it does suggest that, at least according to them, a lot of their customers are happy with the service.
Yeah, it gives you an idea.
In terms of the academic level, they say they can handle everything from undergrad assignments to more advanced stuff like dissertations and theses.
Wow.
They even mention case studies, so it seems like they're positioning themselves as a one-stop shop for all your English academic writing needs.
It really is a broad scope, and I think that raises an important question. If students are essentially outsourcing these core parts of their education, what does that mean for the learning process itself?
That's a great point, and we'll definitely come back to that. But for now, let's focus on what this website specifically emphasizes as their strengths.
Yeah.
What are they saying makes them stand out from the competition?
Well, one of their big selling points is that they recruit the best academic experts, people with years and years of experience in their fields.
Okay.
So again, they're really hitting that point home that your assignments are going to be handled by highly qualified individuals.
Right.
And they also stress the importance of proofreaders and editors. They say that everyone's work is checked for factual and grammatical errors. So it sounds like they have a pretty thorough quality assurance process in place.
And they really hammer home that message of high quality and no plagiarism,
Oh, yeah.
which makes sense given how serious plagiarism is in academic settings.
Absolutely.
They want potential customers to feel confident that the work they get is going to be original.
Yeah, definitely.
And then on top of the actual writing and editing, they list a ton of other benefits like affordable pricing, which is obviously a huge concern for students,
Of course.
24/7 customer support.
Mm-hmm.
So it seems like they're trying to cater to students all over the world in different time zones,
Right.
and a really easy ordering process. They also promise to deliver assignments on time. So these are all really practical considerations that students are probably weighing when they're choosing a service like this.
Yeah, for sure.
And they even mention things like secure payment options, discounts, freebies, and they offer guarantees about who owns the work, the privacy of the user, and even a money-back guarantee if the student isn't satisfied.
Wow.
So they're really pulling out all the stops to make this seem like a trustworthy and risk-free option.
Yeah, it sounds like they're trying to anticipate any worries that students might have and address them head on.
Exactly. And then to sweeten the deal even further, they offer a 5% discount if you place your order through their mobile app.
Interesting.
So it seems like they're really pushing people towards that platform.
It makes sense. I mean, everyone's on their phones these days.
Right.
So by offering these incentives and guarantees, they're making the service seem more convenient, more appealing, especially to students who might be feeling overwhelmed or unprepared.
And then there's this whole list of features that they advertise as free, which is pretty extensive. It includes things like help with choosing a topic, developing an outline, unlimited revisions, editing and proofreading,
Right.
even though they already mentioned dedicated editors formatting the assignment and creating a bibliography.
That's quite a bit.
Yeah, and what's interesting is that they sometimes list the original prices for these features, and then they cross them out and label them as free.
Oh, I've seen that before.
It's a classic marketing tactic to make you feel like you're getting a lot of extra value.
Totally. It's like they're saying, look at all this stuff you're getting for free that you would normally have to pay for.
Exactly, and one thing that really stands out is the unlimited revisions. It seems like they're committed to making sure that the final product meets the student's expectations, even if it takes multiple rounds of back and forth.
Yeah, that's a good sign.
So let's say a student decides to use this service. What's the process they go through?
Well, the website outlines a 4-step ordering process,
Okay.
and it seems pretty straightforward. First, you fill out an order form with all the basic details of the assignment. Then you provide more specific instructions, and most importantly, the deadline. Then there's a quick chat with the writer who's going to be working on your assignment, and finally, you make the payment.
So it's all designed to be as easy and user-friendly as possible.
Yeah, exactly, especially since students are probably already stressed out and short on time.
And I thought it was interesting that they mentioned that brief interaction with the writer. It suggests a level of personalized communication, even if it's just a quick confirmation.
Yeah, it could be just a quick check-in, or it could be a more detailed discussion about what the assignment requires. But the goal seems to be to make sure everyone's on the same page.
Now, one thing that kind of struck me as odd was that in addition to these writing services, they also advertise a bunch of free tools that are supposed to help students make their work original.
I see what you mean.
It seems a bit contradictory because They're emphasizing human writers and AI-free content for their paid service, but then they're also providing access to tools that could potentially automate or semi-automate the very tasks that those writers are doing.
That's a really good point. It does raise some questions about the line between providing support and potentially enabling students to bypass the learning process altogether.
Exactly, and it's especially interesting because these tools include an AI essay writer,
Oh, wow.
along with more traditional things like a paraphrasing tool, plagiarism checker, reference generator, grammar checker, and even dissertation and thesis statement generators.
So they're covering all the bases.
Yeah, it seems like they're trying to cater to a wide range of students, including those who might want to generate or polish their own work, maybe even using AI as a starting point.
It's definitely a mixed message. On one hand, they're selling the expertise of human writers, but on the other hand, they're giving students the tools to potentially do it themselves.
Right, and it kind of highlights how complicated this whole landscape is becoming, especially with the rapid advancements in AI writing technology.
Yeah, it's a whole new world.
They might be trying to appeal to different types of students, those who want a completely finished assignment and those who just need a little help along the way.
Makes sense.
But it also shows that AI writing tools are becoming more and more common, and these services might feel like they have to offer them to stay competitive.
Yeah, I can see that.
Now let's move on to how this website tries to prove that it works. They have a whole section of testimonials from what they call happy customers.
Okay.
But it's important to remember that these are testimonials that they've chosen to publish, so we should keep that in mind.
Yeah, absolutely. They're obviously going to pick the ones that make them look good.
Right. But even so, they can still give us some insight into the kinds of problems students are facing and what they see as the benefits of using a service like this.
For sure.
So we see testimonials that mention things like modestly priced academic writing services, perfect assignments, help with grammatical errors. One testimonial from Adam Watson, who they say is from Imperial College. London specifically thanks them for doing a great job helping him with an English assignment where he often struggles with grammar.
Okay.
And then there's another one from Patrick in Canberra who talks about how they helped him with his dissertation, especially since he's not a native English speaker and was worried about the quality of his writing.
Interesting.
And a few of them mentioned that they were able to meet really tight deadlines.
So it seems like those testimonials are really echoing the needs that we've already discussed: affordability, getting high quality work, overcoming language barriers, and dealing with those time crunches.
Exactly. And even though we can't verify it, they do include names and even affiliations,
Yeah.
which is meant to add a layer of credibility.
Yeah, it makes it seem more real.
Finally, let's look at all the discounts and special offers that they're promoting.
Okay.
They seem to be trying everything they can to attract new customers and keep the existing ones coming back.
Yeah, those discounts can be pretty tempting.
So they advertise a 25% discount on your first assignment if you use a specific promo code, which is a pretty standard tactic for online services.
Right. Get people hooked.
Exactly. And then they offer a 10% discount on larger orders over $1,000. So they're encouraging people to spend more.
Makes sense.
And then they have this 5 and 4 deal where you get 5 assignments for the price of 4 if you use another promo code.
Oh, wow.
So they're definitely trying to encourage repeat business.
Yeah, that's a good deal.
And then there's this limited time offer that promises exclusive library membership and free wallet balance worth $300 if you update your phone number and use the initial discount code.
Interesting.
It seems like they're trying to get your contact info and maybe encourage you to spend more on their platform in the future.
Yeah, it's a clever way to keep people engaged.
And then they have a huge 50% discount on your first order if you use their mobile app.
Wow.
So they're really pushing that mobile platform.
Yeah, it seems like they're putting a lot of effort into making their service as convenient as possible.
Right.
And all these different discounts and offers really show how competitive this market is.
Yeah.
They're constantly trying to one-up each other with better deals and incentives to attract students.
Okay, so we've done a pretty deep dive into this website that offers English assignment help.
We have.
And I think there are a few key takeaways here.
Okay. Yep.
First of all, it's clear that there's a huge demand for these kinds of services, and it's probably only going to grow.
Yeah, I'd agree with that.
And that demand is being driven by a couple of things. First, strong English skills are absolutely essential for success in both academia and future careers. But at the same time, a lot of students are really struggling to meet those expectations.
Right.
Whether it's because they lack certain skills, they're super pressed for time, or for non-native speakers, they're just finding it really hard to write academic English.
Yeah, it's a lot to handle.
And these services are trying to fill that gap by offering a whole range of support, from basic grammar help to writing entire dissertations.
And they're really emphasizing the fact that they use experienced human writers, that they have strict quality control, and that they produce original plagiarism-free work.
Right. Although, of course, we have to take their word for it.
Yeah, of course.
But if we go back to our original questions,
Mm.
it does seem like a lot of students in higher education are feeling really pressured and overwhelmed when it comes to their English studies.
Yeah, I think that's a safe bet.
And the fact that these support services are so popular and so well developed really shows just how widespread these difficulties are.
It's definitely a sign of the times.
So here's a final thought for you to consider. Given all these services that are available and all the guarantees that they offer, what does that tell us about the pressures that students are under these days? And maybe even more broadly, what are the long-term implications of having such easy access to academic support? Will it change the way students learn? Will it affect academic integrity?
That's a big question.
It's definitely something to think about. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
It was a good one. Thanks for having me.